burglaries in the past couple weeks is that the council consider increasing the staffing level of the police department back to the pre-sunrise level of 7 officers and 2 sergeants. And there's been a lot of hubbub around the city about changing the job description of the public safety director to police chief and having him do patrols. I'm not sure that that would work, because as long as that position remains a mid-management exempt non-union position, doesn't matter what you call it, public safety director, chief of police, or Joe Scat the rag man, doesn't matter. Once you start pulling patrols, I think the union's going to have a whole lot of issue with that. That would be no different from having the public works director get on the tractor or one of the backhoes and go out there in his capacity as public works director. That being said, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to comment on the budget?
Oh, well.
I'll just remind folks to state your name and address for the record.
Barbara Lawrence, P.O. Box 363, Auburn, Washington, 98047. I agree with Gary. We do need to increase the staffing for the police department. Frankly, I don't see any problem with Chief running around town and checking things out. He needs to know what's going on. I remember when there was a full staff, and we do need to have a patrol officer that is just doing traffic. I also, well, as far as title, I don't think the title really makes much difference. It has to do with the pay, basically. If he's going to be running around and doing patrol and stuff, then the insurance is going to go up and field costs and everything else. So I think he just needs to keep track of his time when he does do on a spreadsheet. So if anybody asks what he's been working on.
I remind you to keep your comments to the budget.
Okay. And as far as the budget goes, I have a question on parks. Since the park is actually closed for half the year, can we take some of that parks money and put it into other funds, or is there really not much there to be able to do anything with?
Can you comment at this time? I'm not going to do a question and answer.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's it.
Any further comments from the audience?
Kate Hull, 102 Alder Lane South. So, I have a few comments. First of all, let's talk about park facilities. Account number 576, $108,000. That sounds like a lot of money to me. But I know what that contributes to. That's 5% of every public works, 5% of the planner, 5% of, and I don't know what you call them anymore, the community development manager and the public works, and 5% of Richard. So, I would just like to ask for an accounting, because I do not believe that the park should be charged $9,000 a month. I just do not see, we have 12 parks on our thing, and I will say that 9 of those parks are currently being maintained by their residents that live next to them. So basically, the Public Works Department maintains 3 parks in the summer. The Big Park, Centennial Park, and Beaver Park. The rest of them receive no maintenance, although we do pick up garbage at 11 of them. The new park will not have a garbage receptacle at Aspen because that encourages people to put trash in the garbage recycling bin. So, the other thing I'd like to talk about is the capital fund. So it's $100,000, which I agree is approximately the right amount, and $12,000 is the income, which I again agree. But the $7,000 that is for the expenditures for 15 really should be captured in 14 since we bought the equipment and installed the equipment this year, and that doesn't appear on the budget. The other thing I would like to ask for is, 2 years ago, we got this really great budget, and it says actual budget. So we can actually see how much money was spent in each of these funds, and I understand that in 13 we changed the way we code the funds. So if we could just have last year and the actual for this year, it would be very helpful for those of us that do not have intimate knowledge of the budget, but would still like to be able to provide guidance to the budget. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So would anybody else like to comment on tonight's budget? Looks like we have 2 more people to say.
Okay.
Wow.
Fanfare.
The applause is walking up here.
I'm gonna ding the parks department.
That was fun. I have a written copy I'll pass out as I go back, but budget time. You should test. Are you ready? Some of you guys done it a lot, some not a lot. I want to pick up both the budget and other issues. In your budget planning, considerations, and conversations, how are you addressing the following matters? I urge you to keep these costs in mind both as you do the budget and as I believe you continue to consider permitting legal recreational marijuana businesses in your town. I think they come together very significantly. Who will bear the cost and who will pay the price? What is the plan in place today to offer youth and kids and families healthy alternatives, healthy recreational alternatives with equal availability to the recreational pot business? That's going to be 24/7 in our community. And what local funding are you putting in place for this? Local funding. What is the plan to educate youth, kids, families, legal users of recreational pot of the real and verifiable dangers to youth and consumption of pot in its many and various forms? And by the way, who will be responsible for drawing the pot business folks into that discussion? What local funding are you putting into place to do this? What resources are in place today for the 6 to 9% of users in our community, right here, Pacific, who will become addicted, that's statistical, but there it is, become addicted to pot and who want to step away and needing help to do so from our community? What local funds are you putting in place to do this? What are the infrastructure demands of this business on our city resources? Water, sewer, roads, communications, all the rest of it. And what plans are in place today to identify and address those demands? And what local funding are you putting in place for this? What are the public safety resources will be needed to address the increased use by kids? The rise, have you seen the numbers this year already in Washington State? The rise in the incidental ingestion by children, the distribution, sharing of products, leaf, liquids, and edibles outside the doors. What local funding are you putting in place for this? None of these call for an increase in the law enforcement side of the equation. You guys battle that all the time and you'll do it well. It's up to you. I'm not talking law enforcement side. I'm talking about all the rest of it. These are all the costs that are needed to be planned for in the rest of the city budget. The private, not-for-profit NGO, non-government organizations, that's what I am, can only do so much. And many of us are extended past any common sense limits. We don't have unions. We don't work union rules. We don't work 40-hour work weeks. That'd be nice. And the resources for us are shrinking. The public sector will need to step up and help fund the resources that all of us, I'm not just talking mine, but all of us are providing. How will you plan to make outreach overtures to the private not-for-profits in this community with support, partnership, and encouragement? And will you back up your words with some financial resources? Again, I urge you, keep these costs in mind both as you do the budget and as you consider, I'm thinking it's happening someplace, as you consider permitting legal recreational marijuana businesses in town. Who will bear the cost? And who will pay the price? Thank you.
Thank you. Jean?
Yeah, 1 second here.
Jean Fancher, 37248 55th Avenue South, up on the West Hill of Pacific, 98001. I went through the budget and saw it's all very nicely done, and my eyes fell on the organizational chart, because I'm kind of a visual person. So I went through the chart and have my suggestions in order based on the chart. First, for the council, I would like the city to add funds for some sort of an assistant to aid the council in to research, track bills and ordinances, schedule committees, some kind of administrative help. And why? Because the council has no staff per se. There is work being done by people on their own time, and most of the council, I think, works 8 hours a day, and it's hard for them to justify going on the internet, doing research, making calls when they're on the company clock. So if you could shift a little money for a little part-time help, kind of the way you have the part-time assistant for the clerk and finance, that would be great. Mayor, I think the same thing could be done in the mayor's department. The communications with Pacific citizens is still spotty. So if there's an addition of some money for publication of a monthly newsletter, whether it's mailed individually or put in the utility bill, a lot of people don't watch the blogs, they don't come to the council. I get maybe 50 hits a week, and out of 2,500 voters, 50 informed citizens really is not enough. I'd also like some time for an assistant for the mayor, because it would take some time to write, edit, and publish a newsletter. In public safety, I would make a change in the FTE list to include a chief of police rather than a public safety director. Some of the reasons are to save money on the insurance premium. A new chief, depending on who was hired, would probably come in at a lower pay grade, so there's some savings there per month. And I'd also like to see a certified police chief in the budget because of the updated training and the professionalism. I don't know why I say professionalism, I just want to say most recent skills update. And it would also be nice to have a chief of police who can carry a badge and arrest people if needed. So that's part of public safety. I'd delete one vehicle for the traffic officer if he were hired and assign a previously unmarked car to the new hire, and I'd have that car marked. So that'd come in around, well, less than 50,000, it's 35,000 on the car, so maybe 15,000. Why would a traffic car or a new officer's car be marked? Higher visibility. The chief's or the public safety director's comment in the budget said visibility was reducing accidents, so the more marked cars, the better. The more officers on the street, the better, but I don't think they necessarily need to be traffic only. Any patrol officer can write a ticket. A traffic officer sounds more like a moneymaker than traffic reduction. Next, city clerk, increase for the assistants, as I'm sure the clerk is still overwhelmed with a backlog of minutes and agendas that need to go on the website. Finance, I didn't notice anything for changes in finance. I didn't have budgets to compare, so I don't know. Maybe there is more training in there. If so, that's great, because we know we've got a lot of coding and a lot of issues on making sure the money goes to the right place and gets the expenses get billed to the right place. Public Works, city engineer, I don't have any information on that department, so I'm not suggesting any changes. In the Public Works, though, I would add some money for stormwater education as per the NPDES permit. I really haven't seen that much in public education, and I know that there are water tests coming up under the Clean Water Act. Community development, add money to pay for duties to attract retail. If you look at the budget on the income, most of the tax is, well, there's sales tax and it's B&O tax. And B&O tax is not a big income maker, but retail sales tax, I think, would really benefit the city, and replacing some warehouses with retail sales places like a Marlene's Market or a Whole Foods or something over on Stewart where 50,000 cars go by would be a good idea. And I think you need some money for a consultant for PR to work with those potential businesses and get them to think about coming into town. I'd add money to the reserve accounts for amenities and repairs. This is supposed to be parks. Didn't get that word in there. Parks. Add to the parks maintenance. I don't think it's adequate, even with the city park being off limits 6 months of the year. I'd add money to the reserve for amenities and repairs, and some planning for future developments because the city is growing and the open space is getting smaller. And I'd add money to the reserve for acquisitions. We've got that 100,000 plus that's coming in through developers' fees, but we don't have the acreage that we need for adequate recreation in town, even downsizing the number of acres per thousand from, what was it, 20 to 10?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's sort of cheating, actually. So we just need more recreational spots, and as Pastor Goff said, alternatives for our youth. That brings me to community services. In seniors and youth department, I'd add money to the salary portion of the budget to equalize the pay of the managers. Some of the managers have been on staff for 18 years, and they're still at the bottom of the pay scale, and they're not getting paid for their experience or expertise, and that really needs to change. If you take a look at the pay scale, the women in the city basically are being paid less.
3 minutes, can I get you to wrap it up?
I got 2 more paragraph sentences, that's it.
Thank you.
The last thing I do is add money for the activities in the gym, adult activities and youth activities. 1 employee and an assistant cannot supervise the building in the evening. They've spent their time in the daytime. So I think there should be part-time help for the adult and youth programs, and that part-time help can also spend some time while she's supervising or he is supervising in the evening, doing a little advertising, a little Facebooking, because we need to serve a broader spectrum of residents of the city. That's my report, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make comment on tonight's public hearing regarding 2015 budget? Second call for comment on tonight's public hearing. Third and final call for public comment on tonight's meeting. Okay, seeing none, this public hearing is now closed.